Today, take out your bottle of good old J&B because we're talking about a Giallo. More specifically, a Giallo in Venice. I also didn't drink J&B tonight, but I did drink a lot. I'm kind of fucking drunk. This is gonna be a mess of a video. As a fan of sleazy movies and gialli, I'm always looking for the one that'll blow my mind, the sleaziest fucking gialli ever made. And that quest led me to many wonderful films, such as The New York Ripper, which I already covered on my channel, link in the description, and Strip Nude for Your Killer. Today I have one that's quite infamous in the sleazy giallo world, and that is Giallo in Venice. Or Gore in Venice. I've never heard that title. Fucking Full Moon probably made it up. Anyways, is Giallo in Venice the sleaziest fucking movie about a black-gloved mysterious killer? We'll see. It's not. Spoiler alert. Like any good murder mystery classic, we start with the murder. We see a man get stabbed to death by a pair of scissors, but we don't see the killer. That wouldn't make it very mysterious now, wouldn't it? And after that, we see the police start their investigation. And our lead detective is this man with a little fro and a big mustache. His only character trait is that he really likes to eat boiled eggs. You'll see that in every scene that he's in, he's always eating a fucking boiled egg. That's his only character trait. Real good job on the writing there. But honestly, for a giallo, usually the detective is this very amateur person that's just, you know, in between the murders. But this time, it's an actual police detective. Even though he's our main character, he's not there a lot and he's really not that important. Our detectives find himself going to a girl's house. I don't remember her name. Again, most of the characters in here are not important. She gets a call during the police's visit, and it's this man who just keeps giving her shit. And she's like to the police, I get, you know, don't worry about him, I just get these calls, he's like an ex-boyfriend of mine, he's super fucking jealous, he tells me he wants to kill me, you know, nothing to worry about. And the detective is like, this might be our murderer. And he decides to start, you know, bugging the phones and then following her. And she goes on a date with that man, who's just this guy, who's also not important. He'll die later, don't worry about it. And they're kind of two sleazeballs who organize orgies, or as I call them, good fucking people. We then go to a flashback to this young couple, which will be the main focal point of the film, and it's Flavia and Fabio. You can't get more stereotypically Italian names than that. What's next, Mario? Oh, this film was directed by a Mario. Anyways, Fabio has this really strange kink where he likes to fuck in public, which, no kink shaming. The only problem is she's not really down for that, and he doesn't just like to fuck in public, he likes people seeing him fuck in public. We're introduced to the two characters as they go fuck behind something, and then there's this weird guy with an afro just staring at them, and then he looks at him and he keeps going. But then when Flavia is like, yo motherfucker, there's a guy jerking off to us, he's like, oh, don't be such a bitch, continue sucking my cock. Don't know why I did that accent there. So they get into this big fight, you know. Later at home, he tries to seduce her by like fingering oysters. What the fuck am I? And she's like, no, I don't want to fuck. And he's like, yeah, but I want to fuck. And she's like, no, I don't want to fuck. Anyways, she goes to her room and he gets into the room. They start making love. He starts her up, but he leaves. And she's mad because he left to read sexy comic books or sexy like vintage art. And that scene is like 15 minutes long. That's what we call character development. Anyways, then we go back to the detective who does his detective work, and then we see a prostitute doing her job, and then there's a John that comes in to see her, and whatever, he pays her, and then he stabs her in the pussy, and you're like, oh well, that's our murderer, this isn't much of a mystery. But no, this is a Giallo, so there's still a mystery. We learn that that guy is one of the girl that organizes the orgies, ex-boyfriend, and he's kind of a psycho. In between that, we get more of Flavia and Fabio's wonderful relationship when, you know, they start fucking in a movie theater, and the guy is like to another guy, yo, join in, and then the guy starts jerking off, and yes, we see full cock and balls. Thank you, movie. Didn't really need to see an old Italian cock tonight. After that, we go back to the orgy organizers, and they have this little, you know, they have this little talk at night. But when the guy leaves, he gets attacked by our thick sunglasses guy, and he even gets murdered. And then the police sees him, the police shoots our sunglasses guy, but he's not dead. And then that night after, he fucking murders the woman orgy organizer, and that leads to his arrest. The police takes out his glasses, you see that he looks like a guy on meth who hasn't slept for days, and he's a bit of a nutcase. He does confess to the murders, but then they're stuck because he clearly didn't kill Fabio and Flavia, because the police is really confused. They're like, yo, the guy got stabbed and Flavia was drowned and taken out of the water. We're back to square one. They go back and forth doing their police work, and eventually they get a call from an old man. Kind of forgot to say that, but at the beginning there was an old man that apparently saw everything going on. He just didn't want to say anything to the police. Anyways, he changed his mind and described a scene where Fabio kind of forced Flavia to have sex with two construction workers, and she wasn't really down, but he promised to go seek help from a doctor if, you know, she did that last thing for him, which was fucking two strange men, and she didn't seem down. Our egg-eating detective then goes to the two construction workers, and he's like, bros, what the fuck happened? And they're like, we didn't kill her. The detective is so fucking useless in this movie. He does zero work. The only reason the murder got resolved is because of happenstance. He just got a call from a guy who's like, oh yeah, this happened, and then, you know, they finally find the guy, and he's like, oh yeah, this happened, by the way, until the murder is resolved. Okay. So eventually we learned that Flavia was just fed up, and while Fabio was having sex with her after she was basically raped by the two construction workers, she stabs him to death, and then her ex-boyfriend, who was there, who's also a character in this film, didn't talk about him because he's worthless, sees her try to drown herself, he tries to save her, and then picks her up from the water, then takes the scissors, which are the murder weapon, goes home, and the end. So that was Gore in Venice. What did I think? Well, this isn't the sleaziest Giallo ever. Let's just get that straight. I think that the New York Ripper is even sleazier than this. And another one that I really want to cover in the future that involves sisters and Ursula, if you get my drift. But at the end of the day, Gore in Venice, or Giallo in Venice, is your very basic Giallo. However, it is helped by the gore, because the gore, I didn't talk about it in the synopsis aspect, but holy shit, it's good. Like, it's really good, especially for super low budget 70s Italian exploitation. Like, damn boy. The characters are hateable. All of them. Our detective, who tries to be this quirky funny guy, I hate him. Fabio, a cunt. The orgy couple, a bunch of dumbasses. The murderer, also a dick. The only redeemable character is Flavia, which this is not a criticism. This is what I love about Gialli. All the characters are assholes, and they could all be murderers. That's how you create a murder mystery. You never know who's the actual murderer, and you only learn it at the end. Now, did I guess the mystery? Not really. Honestly, I was quite surprised at the solution. However, at about the last 20-minute mark, I'm like, oh yeah, obviously she killed him and she tried to drown herself and someone helped her. I'm not a genius. This is just, after you've seen a couple Giallo, they're just predictable. Anyways, do I recommend Gore in Venice? Absolutely. It's really a fun 70s, low budget, sleazy ass balls, but not as sleazy as the New York Ripper movie. And there's so much sex, there's so much nudity, I mean, a man finger pops a fucking oyster. You can't get better than that. So, if you can find the Blu-ray cheap, and it probably is, because it's fucking full moon releasing, go give it a watch. It's also probably on Tubi. Anyways, see you guys next time.